What's going on, guys, and welcome back to F1 2021, my team career mode for Season 4, Round number 3, the Portuguese Grand Prix. We start this one off with a bunch of changes to sponsors. So I've actually finally unlocked the 4th sponsor option, so we'll be able to have 4 sponsors on the car. And I'm also going to change a few of the sponsors out that need renewing, because, you know what, we don't really need money now. We've got as much as we need, and we don't really need to buy anything anymore to progress with the team and the car. So I've gone for some of the more difficult to achieve sponsor options, just so that we can, if we do achieve those, we're going to get a lot of money, but we're not going to be getting money every single week and a heap of money. And we don't need it at the moment anyway, so we might as well do that. Also put some player perks on, because some driver perks, because I haven't really done much with that. And I'm also going to put the final upgrade onto the marketing as well. And then as we go through the activity timeline, just some stuff, mainly, reaction training for George Russell, because his focus is really low. And it doesn't matter what I do, I can't get his focus any higher. So I'm just trying to do as much as I can with that, because I really don't know what to do. His focus is just low no matter what. We look at the R&D here, and it's pretty much all stayed the same. Aston Martin slowly dropping back a little bit. They're not really upgrading at the moment. So, or maybe they're just maxed out and they're not one of the quicker teams maxed out. So, don't really know how that's going to go there. But most teams are getting towards the top end of their R&D development points. So Portimao, it's a track that I quite like. Out of these two tracks, Portimao and Imola, that both came out similar sort of time, I do prefer Imola. This is definitely an interesting track, but it's not my favorite track. Although it's a fun track to drive, but yeah, it's not one of my best tracks for sure. But it is definitely a little bit different, and a lot of people say it is just the better Spa, which I'd have to agree. I do prefer this to Spain. SPA, Spain, Barcelona, Circuit Barcelona. It's kind of the better version of that, which I would agree. Q1 I go P12, so not as quick as I was hoping, but I knew there was more in the car for sure. I didn't quite get the best lap time as I could, because this is a very tricky track. You have to really be careful. Coming up this section here, as you go up the hill, you've got to be very careful on the throttle, or you will spin the car around. You've got to be very careful there. And because this is a very undulating track, it's very much like a roller coaster, all over the place, up and down, side to side, quick corners like these, that if you just have your wheels in the wrong place, or you just put the throttle down too early or at the wrong point, you will go around. So you have to be very careful. Charles Leclerc goes quickest in Q2. George Russell up there in P2. We get through P8. It's actually a very good lap time for me, a 14.0. That was pretty much a flat out lap. I think we did like a 14.5 in Q1. So, we found half a second right there. Potentially could go a little bit quicker in this final session, but it's gonna be difficult to beat a 14.0. So gonna see how we can do here. I don't think we're gonna be fighting for pole position like we were at Imola. Looks like the AI difficulty calculator has potentially worked a little bit better this time, maybe a little bit more on the difficult side, but I'm happy for it to be a little bit more difficult in qualifying, as long as I'm somewhere near, and then hopefully we've got a good race on our hands in the race itself. So we go through, we have a pretty good first sector there, and we'll just see how we can do throughout this lap here. I really do just love this part of the track, but yeah, like I said, if you get that bit wrong going up the hill, it will spin the car around and you will have a bad time. I had a couple of spins in the qualifying sessions, and I will actually say now, I actually did redo Q2 twice, because, once, because the first time I went to go for my quick lap, which I was on a lap good enough to get into Q3. And issue with this game is that apparently AI don't, or very rarely, let you pass when they are on like an out lap or an in lap in qualifying. So I had Yuki Tsunoda in front of me, and he just wouldn't let me pass and completely held me up, and I didn't get through to Q3. But I thought that's just an absolutely stupid thing. I'm not going to deal with that, so I restarted the session. We ended up P9 in the end, so it's not quite where I was hoping to be. It's a 1:14.1, so I go a tenth slower than I did in Q2, so definitely there was more time there. I think I could have got at least P8, maybe in the mix there, P7 to 4, all within a tenth of a second, so very, very close there. George Russell's in P3, but it is a McLaren front row lockout for this Grand Prix.
The Formula One circus has made its way to the southern coast of Portugal this week, and it's preparing for what I expect to be a terrific race here in Portimao. 2.9 miles of track at Portimao featuring 15 turns, 9 to the right and 6 to the left. There's a lot going on here, a lot of elevation changes that will affect the driver's braking and acceleration. Keep an eye out for the DRS zone on the final straight. That will be the setup for a lot of today's overtaking chances. And I'm joined once again by Anthony Davidson to bring you the lowdown for today's race. Let's start with the new Alfa Romeo driver. There have been some tweaks to the power unit regulations, of course, and I have to say it doesn't seem, so far at least, that they've been able to keep up.
There are a few downcast looks within the team this weekend. I think they've been hit fairly hard by the new regs. But this is only the first step down a long road of development, and even if they don't maximise their points today, there are plenty more up for grabs this season.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday and will start from pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Leclerc, Antonio Giovinazzi and Sainz, Perez, Hamilton, Shaw and Pierre Gasly, Tsunoda, Stroll and Guan Yu Zhou and Vettel, Latifi, Eilert, Christian Lundgaard and Esteban Ocon, Fernando Alonso, Matsushita, Mazepin and Mick Schumacher. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Alright, so here we go. The grid is set for the Portuguese Grand Prix in Season 4 to 5 red lights. They're on for quite a while here, but lights are out and away we go. It's a good start for us up against Lewis Hamilton alongside, but Pierre Gasly has got an absolute rocket ship of a start, and so has Yuki Tsunoda around the outside there, but we managed to keep the position from him, but kind of have a bit of a dive on Gasly at the same time. We're going to have a dive on him into the next corner as he's stuck up behind these other cars in front, as we are now alongside Pierre Gasly going up the hill, and we're a little bit wide there going out of that part, and Gasly's alongside and he is in front, and we're just going to try and defend from Tsunoda, but Tsunoda shoots up the inside into the next corner. It is rapid from the Japanese driver at AlphaTauri, and we are in an AlphaTauri battle here, still side by side with Gasly, but we've just got to let him go because we're never going to go side by side through this corner. He had the line, he was pushing us to the outside. We get a big kick of oversteer. That's what I was talking about in qualifying. If you go up that hill, you just get a little bit of oversteer, and it can be terrible, terrible stuff, as Lewis Hamilton is behind, battling with, I believe that is one of the Aston Martins behind there. He manages to just about get that position. Hamilton had a terrible start off the line there. He really did have a shocking start, getting overtaken by myself, by Gasly and by Tsunoda at the start, so he's already dropped out of the points. We continue on here. We've got a bit of a gap now to the two AlphaTauris ahead. Tsunoda, the lead AlphaTauri at the moment, with that rocket ship start and that absolute dive bomb into turn, I don't know, 1, 2, 4, I don't know, into whatever turn that is, the turn we're actually coming up to now, the kind of sort of hairpin. I guess it is a hairpin coming up here, but at the moment we're just having to stay behind Pierre Gasly, but be mindful of Hamilton behind because he's starting to get into a bit of a groove now. He's managed to get past the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll and is now on a bit of a hunt down to see if he can chase us, and we've just got to try and keep ahead of him here. As we continue on lap number 4, DRS is now enabled, and we, I believe, have DRS on Pierre Gasly up ahead, but it's not us going for a move, it's the two AlphaTauris going for a move. Gasly going up the inside of Yuki Tsunoda, they get a little bit caught up, and we get massive momentum, and we're going to go for a dive on the Frenchman into turn 2, I guess you can call it here, or turn 3, I don't really know, corner, I guess it's really turn 3, isn't it? But we've got the move done on Pierre Gasly, and we're going to just go defensive into the next corner. He has a little look around the outside, but can't quite do anything, but that's got us up past the Frenchman, and now we have his teammate Yuki Tsunoda up ahead. It takes a few laps to catch up to him. well, not really catch up to him because we were always within a tenth, but Gasly and Hamilton following us through there as well. But this should be a little bit of an easier overtake because Tsunoda does not have DRS. We do, and we're using plenty of ERS as well. We're closing up to him very, very quickly. I'm just going to go late on the brakes, and it's almost too wide. It pretty much is too wide into the entrance of turn 1, but we just about get the position done. We're up into P8, past the 2 AlphaTauris, so a little bit of a wonky first lap, but we've managed to get back up into our position and then one further a couple of laps later. As further up the grid, right at the front of the grid, actually, Lando Norris still leads the way from Max Verstappen. It's a McLaren 1-2 at the moment, but George Russell has not had a great start. He started in P3 on the grid. Well, now you've got, I believe that is Antonio Giovinazzi in the Red Bull in P3. You've then got Charles Leclerc P4, George Russell down to P5, so he has not had a very good start here from starting P3 on the grid, but those 5 drivers kind of in a bit of a league of their own ahead of everybody else. Sergio Perez somewhat on the back of them, but then it's an even bigger gap to myself, Tsunoda, Hamilton, actually a big train with both Mercedes, both AlphaTauris, and also both Aston Martins. So a lot going on here. On lap 11, George Russell has come into the pit, so it looks like he is probably going for a 2-stop once again. Well, our strategy is going to be a 1-stop here from softs onto hards. I think the initial plan was a 2-stop, but my team said, let's try a 1-stop onto hards, and I noticed a few other drivers seem to be doing that, so that's what I'm going to do. George Russell, though, came in quite a bit earlier, so he must be doing, I mean, it's going to be pretty crazy if he's doing a 1-stop. He must be doing a 2-stop, which, well, the demise of him has been the last 2 races. He has had big issues as Pierre Gasly goes flying past us, gets the undercut on us here, but he is onto another set of soft tyres, so that means that Gasly is also on a 2-stop. But like I was saying about Russell, as we watch him here, his demise in the last 2 rounds have been because of a 2-stop. He's gone to a 2-stop all 3 rounds now, and the first 2 rounds he wasn't able to make the gains on the 2-stop, wasn't able to make the overtakes, and that massively cost him out on really any points. He scored, I think, like 9 points so far this season in the first 2 rounds, whereas we are on 40. So yeah, I guess he's going to see if he can do the 2-stop this time, but at the moment stuck behind, I think that is Carlos Sainz, who's on a set of hard tyres, so he's going to the end by the looks of it, doing the 1-stop, so George Russell's going to be needing to make moves if he wants to go for a good position or potentially the race win here today. As we carry on, we're now in P9. Gasly's kind of stormed off ahead of us because he's on the soft tyres, but it doesn't really matter because we're going to the end. He is not. He's got another stop to do, but as we look behind us, Lewis Hamilton pulls to the side. He's slowing down. Looks like he has an issue as his engine goes up in smoke, and that is Lewis Hamilton out of the race, out of the Portuguese Grand Prix. Terrible stuff for him. He was right behind us, actually putting quite a lot of pressure on myself there those last few laps, but he goes out in smoke. Lewis Hamilton out of the race. That is unfortunate for him, his first retirement of the season. And yeah, it's just not been going well for him, and it's also not going well for this man right here this season. He had a DNF in the first round. He scored 1 point last round, but had a front wing change that needed to be done. And now, round 3, it looks like it's another mechanical failure for Antonio Giovinazzi. The defending world champion is out again. 2 mechanical DNFs out of 3 races here. This is not good at all for the defending champion, and he pulls over to the side of the road and is out of the Portuguese Grand Prix. That is not good at all, and that was literally moments after Hamilton's retirement as well. So some terrible stuff going on for top drivers in top teams here. And gee, I'm pretty sure Giovinazzi literally has 1 point to his name at the moment and has had issues in all 3 races so far. As we watch back again with George Russell, he's still trying to get past Carlos Sainz here. Or that might actually be, no, it's Charles Leclerc actually, but Leclerc is on a 1-stop. Look, you can see he's on the hard tyres. So Russell trying to get past him on the soft tyres here, but Leclerc is giving him a run for his money. This should be quite an easy move for Russell to do, but he's not been able to do it. I don't know what is going on with Russell. I don't know if it's because his focus is so low, but like I said earlier, I can't seem to do anything about his focus. You know, he's got a championship, potentially race-winning car under him. We have proved that ourselves with a win last time out and a podium in round 1. We're currently sitting P5 as we have another big kick of oversteer up the hill there, really scary moments, but we have proved that this is a potentially championship winning car, if not at least a race winning potential car. But George Russell just isn't able to get it going, so it must be his focus. But like I said, there's nothing I can do about that other than, you know, doing the activities which I've been doing. So really don't know what's up with him at the moment, as Carlos Sainz going for a move on Nicholas Latifi in the Alfa Romeo. Good little battle here. Sainz on the medium tyres, Latifi on the hards. And sure enough, Sainz makes that move stick and gets up the position. So Sainz, I think, actually is also on a 2-stop. And he's another driver this season who really has not been having a lot of luck. Just like last season, to be honest. Not a lot of luck for Sainz. And yeah, unfortunately, it looks like he's going to have another poor one on a 2-stop. Whereas his teammate Leclerc on a 1-stop. And that's working out for him, currently sitting in P3. We now come up on the back of Nikita Mazepin to lap him once again here. He's running right at the bottom of the field, as he usually does. He actually out-qualified his teammate Mick Schumacher, but Schumacher has managed to get ahead of him on track. Speaking of Schumacher, he's the next car up ahead that we're going to be lapping. Hopefully no issues lapping him this time. Of course, we had that very near miss with him in Imola when we were trying to lap him. This time around though, he just sits on the inside, gives us a little bit of a drag race down to turn 1, but it's not a big issue. However, look at that indicator. He actually has a little look up the inside and just tags the rear left tyre. Have a little look at the display there. Doesn't look to be any damage, but once again, Mick Schumacher doesn't seem to like being lapped. I mean, I don't really blame him. He's in the worst car on the grid by quite a margin, so he'll be wanting to get a better car under his feet, that's for sure. As we look at this big pack right here, which George Russell is a part of, but Guan Yu Zhou is the one going for a move on Yuki Tsunoda. These guys all hard tyre runners apart from George Russell, and well, George Russell on the softs. No, George Russell's now on the mediums, and so is Carlos Sainz. So those two on the 2-stop, the 2 AlphaTauris on a 1-stop, I believe. Although maybe not for Gasly. Oh no, Gasly's not there, is he? Sorry, Gasly's a little bit further behind them. You can just see him coming up behind there. He looks to also be on a 2-stop. He's quite a lot closer to his teammate though. Yuki Tsunoda there on the 1-stop as he gets overtaken by Sainz as well. So split strategies for AlphaTauri, but it looks like it might be working out for Gasly because he's caught right up to the back of his teammate. Matsushita, the next car for us to overtake. Those Williams also really falling down the order after having a promising start to last season. In the midfield, they've just fallen way down the back and honestly are right there with Haas at the moment. As now we look at that battle between the 2 AlphaTauris and Pierre Gasly going for a move on the inside of Yuki Tsunoda. He's on the 2-stop strategy, I believe, here, so he's going to try and make this work. And this might be the only team that this has actually worked out for here, because Gasly manages to get past his teammate and up into, I believe, just about into the points, or maybe just off it. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, that is Gasly back past Tsunoda once again. And final lap of the race, we just continue on here. There's a big gap to Perez up ahead. When we were running good laps, we could catch Perez by a couple of tenths, but then we just have a slightly off lap and we'd lose a couple of tenths to him. Same goes with Vettel behind. We'd gain a few tenths on him and then we'd lose a few tenths on him. So we just weren't having the most, we had good pace, but just didn't quite have the consistency to keep things going at the end here. But as we look on the final lap right now, this is the top 3 right here. You've got Lando Norris up ahead, Max Verstappen, the car we're following at the moment. He's got Charles Leclerc behind him in P3. So it looks like an easy win for Lando, but Max trying to defend P2 here to make it a McLaren P2, and he is going to make that happen. But the man of the hour, he won here, I'm pretty sure, last season in Portimao. He's winning it again in Season 4. Lando Norris wins the Portuguese Grand Prix. It's a McLaren 1-2 with Max Verstappen in second, as Charles Leclerc brings it home for a consecutive 3rd place finish for himself and Ferrari. We come home P5, so it's a pretty good result from us, from P9 in quali to P5. Once again, strategy being a big thing here. Russell should have beaten us here. He had the pace on us, but he went for the 2-stop strategy and he couldn't make it work. The 1-stop, although perhaps a bit more boring, it works.
That's it then for the Portuguese Grand Prix, and what a sensational victory they've managed to pull off here. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
So Lando Norris wins the Portuguese Grand Prix. It's a 1-2 for McLaren with Verstappen there in second. Awesome to see these guys back on top form again with Charles Leclerc for Ferrari in third place. This makes it 3 different winners in 3 races, and also 3 different teams winning in 3 races for the start of this season. Of course, we had Lance Stroll with Aston Martin in race 1, we have myself for TGL Motorsport in race 2, and we've got Lando Norris for McLaren in race 3. So if we can keep this going, we've got a good season, an exciting season on our hands. Of course, we had Giovinazzi and Hamilton both retiring out of the race there. Carlos Sainz manages to score his first and only point so far of the season. We now only have a 1-point lead over Lando Norris at the top. So yeah, Lando Norris 1 point behind us in the standings. There's then a slightly bigger gap to 14 of Sergio Perez in third, and then you've got Lance Stroll 4th, Charles Leclerc moves up to 5th, Verstappen up to 6th, and George Russell still down there in 10th place with only 11 points compared to our, I think that was like 50 points for us there. And yeah, further down the order, Antonio Giovinazzi, the reigning Drivers' Champion, down in P16, the last of the point scorers with only 1 point to his name. McLaren take the lead of the Constructors' Championship from TGL Motorsport. We've actually got a bit of a deficit there of, I think that is like 16 points to them. Aston Martin move down to 3rd, Red Bull stay 4th, Ferrari move up to 5th, Mercedes all the way down to 6th, they're not having a good time here, AlphaTauri 7th, and Alfa Romeo in 8th. Then you've got 0-point finishes still of Alpine, Williams and Haas at the bottom. But anyway, that is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.